Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. Asylum seekers bust in the dead of night. The women of Britain have had enough, and this lot can't stop them. The government has lost control.
Backlogs in the system, which we're getting down. We are doing much more work with our colleagues.
What backlogs are coming down?
And Nigel Farage has had enough.
Where should they be deported to if their country isn't safe or if another country won't accept them?
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. If you come from Afghanistan, you go back to Afghanistan.
Reform's new prison czar, however, seems to think that men should be allowed into women's prisons.
Should trans women be automatically removed from all women's prisons all the time?
No, I don't think they should.
OK, and more than 1 million primary school pupils in Britain have no male teacher. Is that a problem? Oh, and... Palestine Action plan to overwhelm the police. Well, on my panel tonight, we have Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We've got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth and former Conservative advisor James Price. Oh, and what do you make of this advert?
We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. 'Cause here in Great Old Britain, we just love it when it rains.
Morning.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. They're bussing illegals in the dead of night. Next.
Very good evening to you. We'll be back with Patrick shortly. First, though, the top story tonight at 9, and the government is promising a crackdown on people smugglers, funding 300 new officers with £100 million to, they say, target gangs behind the Channel crossings. It comes after more than 25,000 migrants have arrived already by small boat this year. That is a record high. A new one-in, one-out deal with France will see some migrants returned across the Channel in exchange for others being accepted by the UK. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says the UK must track the gangs and bring them down. But in response, the Conservatives have called it a desperate grab for headlines. Here's what the Shadow Treasury's James Wilde told us here on GB News earlier today.
This just feels like it's a gimmick to distract from the figures last week showing 25,000 people have already arrived illegally, a record number, and over the last year it's 48,000. And the reason for that and the numbers going up is because Labour scrapped the deterrent that we had in place. We hadn't operationalised it, I accept, but the scheme to remove people if they arrive illegally is key to breaking this business model of the gangs. And I fear that this is just an announcement that was trying to distract from that.
Well, next, an update on the weather situation. But first, a breaking line we're just getting from Staffordshire Police that sadly, in what they are describing as a tragic incident, a 4-year-old girl has died at Waterworld in Hanley in Staffordshire. Emergency crews called to that indoor water park this afternoon just before 4:30. Staff and paramedics treating that 4-year-old girl before she was taken to hospital. But despite their best efforts, she died a short time later. Waterworld saying it is in shock following that incident and will remain closed until further notice. Detectives also working to establish exactly what happened at that park and urging people not to speculate. Of course, if we hear any developments on that, we will bring that to you. The weather, though, and Storm Floris has slammed into the UK today with 80-mile-an-hour winds recorded, toppling trees, cutting power to 22,000 homes and triggering travel chaos. Flights, ferries and trains were hit across the north, with LNER and Avanti West Coast urging passengers not to travel. Major bridges have also been shut and ferry operators are warning of widespread disruption. Some student exam results across Scotland have also been delayed due to the weather. A 42-year-old man understood to be activist Tommy Robinson has tonight been arrested at Luton Airport in connection with an alleged assault at St Pancras Station in July. It comes after footage emerged appearing to show Robinson walking away from the scene of that incident. British Transport Police say the man had flown in from Faro in Portugal after leaving the country following the incident last month. He was arrested shortly after 6:30 this evening on suspicion of grievous bodily harm. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is set for fresh talks with the BMA this week. He's hoping to prevent another wave of strikes by resident doctors. It follows a 5-day walkout last week already, with NHS England claiming fewer than a third of doctors actually took part. The British Medical Association disputes those figures, arguing shift patterns and leave make the data unreliable. The dispute has already caused major disruption. Both sides are now under pressure to find a resolution. And TV and radio legend James Whale has sadly died today at the age of 74. Known, of course, for his iconic phone-ins, he became a household name in the 80s. A cancer survivor too, he founded Kidney Cancer UK and earned an MBE for charity work. Friends and colleagues have been paying tribute to him today, remembering him as not only a rule breaker, but a good friend too. That's the news on GB News. I'll be back with you at 10.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Patrick Christys Tonight. There is a sense that Brits are being lied to about asylum seeker hotels. Last week, my producer was told over the phone by the Home Office that the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf was not a migrant hotel. Then, over the weekend, this happened.
The time is 1:33, the 1st of August.
A busload of what appeared to be asylum seekers were dropped off in the early hours of the morning under the cover of darkness. Now, that in itself indicates that they were potentially trying to hide that from us. Then, at other hotels in London, these images emerged. New arrivals just laughing at protesters outside the hotel. Where did you get the phones, lads? That's what I want to know. Where do you get those phones? I think it sticks in the craw a little bit, doesn't it, considering it's British taxpayers who are paying for them to live there. For years, people who said they wanted to stop the boats, deport people and close migrant hotels were called far-right racists. Well, these ladies turned up to show their feelings.
Sweet Caroline! Go on track. Good, so good. Good.
It's getting a bit tricky now to call them far-right, I think, isn't it? And why are women becoming increasingly concerned about migrant hotels? Well, over the weekend, 2 cases emerged, and I want to stress that these are just allegations and that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. 2 men, believed to be asylum seekers, have appeared in court charged with the alleged rape of a 12-year-old girl. Then, in Greater Manchester, another man, reported to be an asylum seeker, has been charged with the alleged attempted kidnap of a 10-year-old girl. Well, we'll leave both of those cases there for now, but you've got the women in pink. There they are again, I think. Yeah, lovely stuff. People call them fascists. Well, should we have a look at who turned up to counter-protest? There's people just masked up on the other side of that police cordon, lots of them wearing black, very intimidating, all kicking off, and they're the good guys. Are they? They are the good guys. The police have to be very careful about how to handle these situations going forward.
You have to leave now and not return within 28 days to this area. If you don't, you will be arrested, okay?
So you're telling me that we're not allowed to come back and protest?
For 28 days because you're causing distress and harm to the resident of this hotel.
Is there anything
if you don't comply with that, we need the area to you will be arrested.
Well, what that clip showed there was a police officer appearing to tell a man that he had to leave that protest and was not allowed to return within 28 days because he was causing a bit of distress to the people inside the hotel. Well, it looked like the police were clamping down on legitimate protests. They have since rowed back, saying that they only want to arrest people who break the law. But the fact is that it is now impossible for the government to cover up where they are going to plonk these migrant hotels. And Antifa and the left-wing media can't call a load of concerned ladies wearing pink far-right fascists. The women of Britain have had enough, and they've found their voice, and they will not be defeated. Let's get thoughts on my panel. We've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and former Conservative Party advisor James Price. Carol, I'll start with you as our resident woman for the evening.
Thank you.
There you go. So the women of Britain have found their voice when it comes to these illegal migrant hotels, I think, haven't they?
It's going to be really interesting to see how the left-wing media spin this one, actually. They must be frustrated to hell and back over this. And these were ordinary women, very concerned about their families and their children. And they've, like the rest of us, they've had enough of this. They know what the stats are. They know what the stats we have. We've got nearly 2,000 foreign offenders, sex offenders in our jails. 40% of all sex offenders in London are foreigners. And so people with families, with kids are concerned. You just read out a couple of allegations there. But I think we're also concerned about the fact we're being lied to about this. This is, in Warwickshire, we know in Nuneaton they try to hide the situation about the 2 Afghan asylum seekers allegedly.
I think, again, just to say on that, that is alleged, all of that stuff.
I just said it's an allegation. But they try to hide it because they're saying it will inflame tensions. Now, what is inflaming tensions in this country is politicians and policemen hiding the fact from us that this has actually happened. They are inflaming the situation by not dealing with these people who are coming here, by not dealing with illegal immigration, and with not dealing with the sex offenders, probably. So it's not the people that are causing tensions. It is the government.
James, bring you into this. Yeah, I mean, there's two issues here. Obviously, the first one that we've kind of addressed there was more the fact that the women have decided that they've had enough of this stuff. But that stark image there of having been told My producer, having been told that that hotel was not a migrant hotel, watching those men, and it was all men, being bussed in under the cover of darkness in the dead of night, so predictable that it was going to happen. It adds to that sense of deception, I think.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think when you get to a point like that, when the government starts actively lying to the people who are supposed to be represented by them, you can't survive for very long. I think we're seeing a really deep crisis of legitimacy, and that's a hard thing to kind of define, either philosophically or anything else, but it's one of those moments you know it when you see it. And if you've got a government that is lying to the press, is lying to the people out there, and prefers to try and arrest people who are just scared about what's happening to their society, what's going to happen to their children, rather than all these people who've... The first act they've ever done in this country is breaking the law by coming in illegally. That's where you start seeing this two-tier justice stuff coming through, and you start getting to that, and things are going to get really febrile now, because it's not just happening in that Canary Wharf site, chosen because not many people live there, not just in Warwickshire that was mentioned, not just, Southport a year ago and the horrible things there. These things are starting to pop up all over the country. And if Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, thinks, the only problem is people don't like taxpayers' money being spent on the hotels, let's just pass them all through, because that's what's speeding up the visa application process, or the asylum process. They'll just be saying yes to everybody. That's the problem there. Then you're going to start seeing these people living next door to you and spread across the whole country.
Yeah, I don't know if we might be able just to, whilst I put something to Benjamin, but bring that picture up of the lads hanging out the hotel window. I think it's the different hotel in London, with the mobile phones, appearing to film and laugh at some of the protesters out there. It'd be good if we could get that, because I think that's just quite a powerful image. There you go. That sticks in the craw a little bit there. Look, happy as Larry, those lads there, having broken into Britain, being put up at a taxpayer-funded hotel. There's Brits outside, possibly a lot of women as well, saying, look, we don't particularly want this in, we don't really feel safe. And there you go. I mean, where do they even get the phones from, Benjamin? I mean, they've probably got a nicer phone than half the people who are out there protesting. It really just wind people up, this, doesn't it?
Well, I suppose it could do, but, I mean, they have human rights. They might have been through a horrendous ordeal to end up there, and I don't think that picture should be seen as indicative of everyone who is a refugee. Look, I know you say that they told you that there weren't going to be migrants in that hotel. Whoever was on the phone can't be expected to know everything. People misspeak. I really wouldn't, read too much into that.
Oh, come on.
Let's put some facts in this.
We
right?
know policemen have told councils not to reveal the ethnicity of foreign criminals, of people
who come here. Well, that's the opposite. The government has the opposite view.
Well, no, they don't have the opposite view.
They changed the law.
Who do you think is telling the police to do that? Who do you think is telling the cops to keep it quiet?
Let's have some facts in this debate, because it's been a while.
I just gave you one.
All right, so the number of people in refugee hotels is down 30% in 12 months.
Where have they gone?
Exactly. Well, let me tell you another fact. The number of people being deported is up in the last 12 months.
We know
the
this
biggest
is
deportation flights.
Stop it. We know these figures are tosh.
I know you hate facts, Carol, but we need some.
Well, address the facts. You know that 2/3 of those who've been deported wanted to go. They were paid and they wanted to go.
Well, they weren't
you
going
know
under the
that.
tourists.
There's about 6,500 that have been sent away that didn't want to go, out of 30,000. And that figure has been disputed many times.
I actually don't understand your anger at this at all, about this particular hotel.
Don't you?
Because they have to go somewhere when they come here. The question is about how quickly they're processed and where they could. And actually, Canary Wharf is an ideal place.
No, it is not.
It has a relatively low
you have the big banks working.
People that live
Do you know where they could go? They could use lots of the old RAF air bases. They could actually build detention centres out of towns and keep these guys away from close-knit communities.
Call me a radical as well. There is one place you could go, and that place is home, isn't it? But there we go. James, what do you make of the fact now that we've seen more, I think, of an organised attempt by predominantly women, concerned mothers, grandmothers, and it looked like some of them have brought their daughters or grandchildren along with them as well. Wearing pink there. Yeah, exactly. I think we can maybe see a little bit of that as well. The pink ladies, or whatever they're calling themselves. I actually thought that was a very powerful image. That really, it just showed a bit of a shift, I think.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's hard, exactly as you said earlier on, to portray these people as evil Nazis, right? They're not scared to show their face, unlike the scumbags who are protesting against them.
Yeah.
I think it gets to this crisis of legitimacy I said before. There is now a widespread belief that the state, whether that's the police, the army, all these other groups, will not protect you. And when that happens, that's really corrosive. Let's put the numbers that we're starting to face into perspective here. More than twice as many people have come over on small boats since 2018 as there are now regular members of the British Army. more than twice as many people have come over. Right? That's the scale we're talking about, with tens of thousands of these people coming over more every year. They're all fighting-age young men, almost 90% or so are. And so you start being a mum looking at these things, you start getting very worried, and the police don't look like they've got a handle on this. If things really kick off all around the country, there's just not going to be the manpower to stop widespread riots, and that's very scary.
As one woman protester said today, she said, you know, protecting women and children isn't far right. It's just right.
Well, this is it. So, Benjamin, when you see some of the images there, these ladies in pink, it's not just women, to be fair, predominantly women in pink and with their kids and so forth. And then you see the counter-protest where the Great Unwashed turned up with Antifa and they were lobbing stuff at police. They've all got the masks on and they're all linking arms and they look almost kind of like, well, they look like an organised kind of mob, really, aren't they? Do you have to ask yourself, whose side are you on there?
Well, I'm not sure any of them achieve anything by this behaviour. Clearly, you shouldn't... I think anyone that turns up in a mask and throws stuff isn't OK, regardless of what force they purport.
So protesting is not allowed, is it not?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it doesn't achieve anything.
Oh, really?
And actually, you know, the issue is about where these people should stay, and these people being in a Canary Wharf hotel is absolutely fine by me, because it is a safe, low-resident area to put them, and there's probably not much demand.
Do you know, there are people in this country now who are going to be sitting battering their tellies listening to that. 4-star hotels, with 4 poster beds, spa facilities. You think that's all right?
Spa.
Yes, I'm afraid they are. The 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf.
We know that plenty of them are using casinos as well.
You think that's all right? When you come to this country, you've given nothing to it, you've contributed nothing, and you're laughing like these guys here, and you get all of that. No wonder they're coming.
They want to contribute to this country. They want to build a life.
No, they don't.
And I think we should be glad of this. And many of these people...
I don't think even you believe that, Benjamin.
Oh, you don't know that they've been through ordeals at all.
Well, you do, because that's why most of them are granted status.
No, they're not.
It's interesting. I mean, at the top of the next hour, the government's unveiled 3 separate illegal migration policies in the last 24 hours or so. So we're going to be picking those apart and seeing which ones you think might make any difference at all. But the Home Office has a firm policy. This is a right of reply from the Home Office. The Home Office says they've got a firm policy not to comment on operational matters regarding specific asylum hotels for safeguarding and security reasons. And that is the position we have consistently taken in respect of media queries regarding this hotel. They also say they were unable to comment on operational matters in reference to whether migrants were transported to the hotel at 1 a.m. But luckily there's a video of it, so I mean, that's all right, isn't it, really? Look, yeah, loads more coming your way. There is another story as well that we're going to be doing this hour, which is finally people are talking about the fact that education facilities and universities and colleges are part of a great big immigration racket that has been going on for so long. So we'll get to that. But before that, here's your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and get a bonus £5,000 in your bank in the latest Great British Giveaway. And guess what? If you haven't got a mortgage or rent to pay, you can still enter and win £15,000. Here's all the details that you need.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, I'm very glad we're finally talking about this. The government has said that student visas are being used as an entry point for getting to the UK to work without any intention to complete the course. You know that thing we all knew was happening for years but were told weren't? Well, it is happening. Anyway, up next, though, time for the head-to-head. And this is an interesting story. So, just 1 in 7 of England's 350,000 teachers are male. It's a big problem in primary schools. There's more than 1 million primary school pupils now who don't have a male teacher. What do we do about that? Stay tuned.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back. Well, it seems like the country's finally ready to talk about the fact that a load of education services are just illegal immigration rackets. We'll be doing that shortly. But first, it's time for the head-to-head. More than 1 million primary school pupils attend schools with no male teacher, with just 1 in 7 of England's 350,000 teachers being male. So a typical primary school has about 300 pupils, so 1.2 million kids are at schools with only female teachers. Now, this comes as experts warn of a rise of, here we go, it's the adolescence argument, isn't it? Misogyny, owing to a lack of positive role models for boys. Earlier this year, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, not too busy with shutting down private schools, of course, called for more male teachers in schools, saying that boys need stronger role models to combat toxic online influences. She believes male teachers can help guide boys towards positive behaviour and resilience. So, is this a problem? Do you think we need more male teachers, more male role models? Joining me tonight is parenting blogger Lucy Baker and deputy head teacher Adam Whitlock. Thank you very much, both of you. So, I think I can go to them now, can I? Yes, hopefully. On the off chance that they are there. There we go. Thank you. Adam, I'm going to start with you as our resident man in this discussion. Is it a problem that there's 1.2 million primary school pupils who don't have a male teacher?
I do think it's a problem. I think, our boys today are growing up without male role models. There's no father at home. There's no not enough male teachers at school. I work in the secondary sector, and there is a higher representation of male teachers than in the primary sector, clearly. But it's not right that in some schools there's literally no men on the staff at all. And that's not gender balance. I mean, that's not even diversity. And if boys don't start seeing responsible men in real life, they're going to do what we fear the most, which is follow irresponsible ones online.
Yeah, OK, fair enough. Lucy, I'll whiz it over your way now. I think it was quite a good point that Adam made, actually. I think in any other walk of life, if we had this kind of gender disparity, there'd probably be entire schemes dedicated to rectifying it, wouldn't there?
Yes. Hello, everyone, by the way. I do think, though, I mean, the question here is, do children need male role models? So that's not just within the school setting, that's kind of in life in general. But I totally believe that healthy behaviour can be modelled by any adult, female, male. It doesn't matter. It's gender irrelevant, I think, because many mums raise boys who are very well-rounded on their own. And if you look at the statistics, I was just looking before I came online to you, 3.2 million lone parents in the UK, 16%, that's 16% of all families, and 85% of those are single mothers, which makes 0.7 million single mums who are raising boys and girls. And I think it's a very generalised view that we're going to be raising misogynist men in the future because there's no men in schools, there's no fathers present at home. I do think that women can do the job just as well as men. Oh, look, I absolutely take that on board. I mean, it's certainly not for me anyway a conversation about, you know, where men would do a better job than women at it. I think it's just the near total absence of men is possibly a bit of an issue, I think. But Adam, I do wonder, forgive me if I say this, but I was thinking before I came on air about, right, why do we not have more male primary school teachers? And I just wonder if maybe there's a little bit of a stigma about it. Like, you know, is there some kind of idea that if you're a bloke and you want to be a primary school teacher, that maybe in some way you're a bit soft, or that, you know, you could potentially even be maybe be thought of as a bit of a wrong or something?
I think there's about probably three reasons I can think off the top of my head. One is what you say is a bit of a stigma perhaps attached to it as being perhaps a female profession in some men's eyes. But the other one is that it's harder to progress quicker in a primary school because it's much smaller. So in terms of pay and progression, if you go into the secondary sector, you'll work your way up a lot quicker. And in fact, most men that go into the primary sector, you'll see will very quickly rise to the leadership positions, and then they'll leave the classroom, which is also another problem. So I mean, those are two off the top of my head as to why not many men go into the primary school sector. How do we encourage them is a big question. I'm not quite sure how we answer that. I want to touch upon one thing that was just mentioned there, though, about it being genderless, or it's not about the sex. You know, why is it that we're so obsessed with gender balance everywhere else, and yet when it comes to this issue, we're not? You know, would you say the same if 86% of teachers were men and girls were underperforming? Would we start to approach it differently if that was the statistic that we're talking about tonight? Yes, it's a great point. And Lucy, I will ask you on that. And actually, again, it is an interesting point. Last time I checked, the worst performing at schools were well, it's working class white boys, isn't it? But I suppose for the premise of this discussion, boys, really. And, yeah, should we not have a strong male presence in primary schools, especially if, as you alluded to before, there might not be any male presence at home?
It's a really, really good question, and I think it varies around the country and in all sorts of different places. But actually, if I talk from experience, one of my children is in a primary school at the moment, and there's 3 male teachers, which I think is unusual. So is that going to give my son a better education? We don't know, because he's only going to go through one education system, isn't he? Like, are those teachers going to provide a better role model for him in year 4 than if he'd had a woman? I mean, it's hard, isn't it? It's subjective. It's something that we can't always find the answer to. But I think that, you know, going back to what the head teacher said just a minute ago, trying to get more males in school, it is a bit of a problem. I think if you pay, you know, what if we paid teachers more money? Would it be more inviting for males and women to stay in the profession for longer? You know, it's a big question, isn't it? But I think on the whole, the lack of males in schools is apparent. It's very obvious to me as a mother. I've got 3 children, 2 in secondary, 1 in primary school still. And like you said, there's loads more male teachers in secondary school because, there's probably more future for them. I don't know. It's a big question. Maybe we need to interview some male primary school teachers themselves and ask why they are working.
Well, we struggled to find any. That was the problem. But yes. Anyway, but both of you, thank you very much. It was a really good discussion. I think a lot of people up and down the country are going to be wondering about whether or not this is an issue. Should we be having some of these male role models in the early years education sector? And then I think if they want to see, it might be good for kids to see. Male kids, obviously, to see someone who looks like them at the front of the class. I think the idea that if it was any other thing, if it was that kind of stat, that 96% of CEOs are male or something, we try and do something about it, don't we? We try and rectify that situation, but maybe in this profession less so. But anyway, thank you very, very much. Parenting blogger Lucy Baker and Deputy Head Teacher Adam Whitlock. I'll chat to you both very soon. Loads more coming your way, including this. So, thousands of pro-Palestine protesters are preparing to deliberately challenge terror laws this weekend in a coordinated effort to stretch police resources. They're all going to go and say they support Palestine action and see if we can arrest them all. So I've got a couple of clips for you that I think you're going to want to see on that. But the Home Office is going to be banning UK universities from enrolling foreign students if too many then go on to claim asylum. It's about time people spoke about this. If you look at your local college or your local university, or these tin pot universities have been popping up and down the country, how many of them are English, the pupils that go there? How many of them overstay the visa? How many of them claim asylum? It's been a complete racket, and I hope it ends. Stay tuned.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across much of Europe over the next couple of days, with thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans, but across parts of Spain and Portugal, we're going to see that heat building over the next couple of days. Maximum temperatures could be reaching up to around 40 degrees and minimum temperatures not dropping much below 20 degrees overnight too. Those thunderstorms will continue across parts of Greece and the Balkans over the next couple of days, but it should be turning a little bit drier towards the end of the week. But that heat does continue to rise by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Floris has already broken some August wind gust records across parts of Scotland, and we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to stay very windy indeed, especially for the far north and northeast of Scotland as Floris moves away overnight. And it's going to be a blustery night wherever you are, but the peak wind gusts of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 to 90 will be felt across the far north and northeast of Scotland, continuing to bring disruption because of the unseasonable and unusually strong nature of Floris. Blustery elsewhere across the UK, further showers following into much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North and West Wales, 1 or 2 showers further south. But overall, a dry start to the day for southern parts of the UK, a very blustery and showery start to the day for much of Scotland, especially the far north of Scotland, Shetland seeing again 50-60 mile/hour wind gusts as we begin Tuesday. So it's still going to be very windy even as Floris heads into Norway. Across the rest of Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, not quite as windy as we've started the week, and those gusty winds continue to drive showers into northwestern parts of the UK in particular. Some heavy downpours interspersed by brighter spells, and all in all things are very gradually calming down through Tuesday, but it will take a time. It's going to be a breezy day wherever you are. The brightest skies will be in the south, with temperatures responding well, 23, 24 Celsius. Further north, feeling cool with that gusty wind continuing into the afternoon and those showers coming and going. Wednesday starts off calm, plenty of sunshine across the UK, some patchy cloud in the far north, a bit of a breeze here, and outbreaks of rain moving through. But mostly Wednesday settled. We've got high pressure in place, plenty of sunny skies. Then another low comes along for Thursday and Friday, not quite as potent as Storm Floris, but still bringing some strong winds to the far north.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Well, I think many people have been waiting quite a long time to have this conversation. It is about the education racket that is going on when it comes to immigration into Britain. The Home Office has announced that British universities will be banned from accepting foreign students if too many of them go on to claim asylum as part of a crackdown on backdoor immigration. The government has said that student visas are being used as an entry point for getting into the UK to work without any intention of completing the course. Last year, 16,000 asylum claims were related to foreign students who had a legal study visa, some of whom went on to claim free taxpayer-funded accommodation whilst their application was processed. Last year, more than 700,000, 700,000 overseas students studied at UK universities. Let's have a look at this one. At the University of Bedfordshire, they had a 47% share of foreign students paying more than £15,000 a year in fees, despite being ranked dead last in the university rankings. It's an absolute abomination, this. Joining me now is Henry Bolton, former Border Security and Management expert for the British government. Henry, thank you very much. So this is just a complete racket, isn't it?
Yeah, always has been, Patrick. And it's not just, it has to be said, it's not just the student visas, it's the entire visa system is in desperate need of overhaul. It's just grown legs and so many loopholes, it's unbelievable. But one of the reasons that there is an increase now in the asylum claims is because up until fairly recently, if you got a student visa, let's say for 3 years, you're allowed to stay for another 2 years to look for a job. That's 5 years. After 5 years, you're entitled to claim or apply for permanent leave to remain in the United Kingdom. And 90% of those claims are granted. So, you know, it's a very easy way into remaining in the UK permanently. So it's an absolute abuse of the system. Now, those people who argue that this all needs to be reined in, then get met with the argument from the universities, but then, you know, we rely on these foreign students for the income.
Go bust
that keeps us afloat. And as far as I'm concerned, you should be centres of learning excellence, not businesses.
Exactly.
So, you know, you're in the wrong genre of work. But the whole system, Patrick, this just is a window on the immense weakness of our entire visa system. And it's a serious window on it, but it's not the only one by any means.
No, exactly. Well, there's several things rear their heads here. So conceivably, you could come from Bangladesh and start studying something like underwater basket weaving at the University of Bedfordshire, come out with a Desmond Tutu, and then go on and claim asylum in Britain or for indefinite leave to remain 2 years later and get all of the benefits that this country has to offer, which are many. So that can happen, can it, as it is?
It can happen. I mean, the length of time has now been extended, so you can't apply after the 2 years. So they've opened up a window, which I'd long argued for. So 3 years studying, 2 years looking for a job, basically doing nothing. And then you could apply. Now they've opened that window up, extended that, so there's a gap between that 2 year period and being able to apply for indefinite leave to remain. Now, one of the reasons we're seeing an increase in asylum claims now is because that window has been extended, so that they need to bridge across. But the other thing is that it's very easy to come into the UK on a student visa, and whilst you're here, Then you can scout around and through the networks, particularly, so there's a lot of diaspora networks, whether you're Indian, Bangladeshi, whatever you are, then they've got a lot of diaspora sort of support networks, and you look around for another job. So, for example, as a care worker, and you're allowed then to change your visa, to apply. You're here on one visa, you can apply for another whilst you're here. And you can keep doing that until such time as you've reached the period that you can apply for permanent leave to remain, which 90% of the applications are granted. 172,000 were granted last year, for example.
Right. I mean, it's also no surprise that in academia, so many university lecturers appear to be signed up open border fanatics, is it? Because they would be out of a job if we decided to close this particular loophole. Like, dare I say, the University of Bedfordshire and loads others like it would probably go out of business because it sounds like 47% of their students are on some kind of immigration visa. Is there anything stopping anyone getting a student visa, arriving in Britain, never going to university, but once they set foot in here, immediately claiming asylum?
No, nothing at all.
Great.
Nothing at all.
Lovely.
And there's nothing at all stopping them from doing the sort of visa jump that I've just described either.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, it's open for everybody to look on just look up on the government website the list of supposed skilled occupations that you can get a visa for. So once you get in here as a student, which is probably the easiest way to get here on a visa, then you can apply for any of the visas for a skilled worker visa in any of the categories listed on the government website. It is an incredibly long list. If you're a dancer, if you're a painter, if you're a gardener, so all you have to do is get somebody to say, yeah, I'll employ you. And of course, with the networks that I've described, it's very easy to do. All you've got to do, come over on a student visa, come over 2-3 weeks before, tie up with somebody who says, yeah, I'll employ you as a gardener or whatever. They don't. They just say that they will, and you get your visa, and you're here then until you need to.
I mean, I was at university, and I was in seminars with people who did not speak a word of English, and then we'd all walk into the same exam room when it came to the exams halfway through the year and at the end of the year, whatever, and they'd be sitting there, and I'd be thinking, how the hell are you going to do this exam? Because I've been sat next to you every single week for the last 6 months, and you can't speak English. And then somehow, miraculously, they come out with a 2-1 or a first. I think there's a question to be had there, seriously, by the way. That is, there is some kind of racket going on there. But also, just anecdotally, there's a college at the end of my road where I live. I have never seen an English person walking into that college, ever. It's ridiculous. So there's this racket going. But Henry, sorry, mate, we're going to have to knock it on the head. But thank you. A spokesperson for Glasgow Caledonian University, I'm not actually sure we mentioned, but has chimed up anyway, said, we take our compliance responsibilities very seriously as an institution that welcomes international students and are committed to ensuring that all of our students have the opportunity to succeed and thrive. This is Essex University. They had this to say. We had already taken measures ahead of receiving the UK VI's action plan. The plan acknowledges many of our improvements, which will be monitored through the action plan period. There's no expected disruption to our admission services, and we're getting everything ready to give our international students a fantastic welcome this October and January. Go on. Anyway, coming up at 10 p.m. Well, the UK government has unveiled several new policies to tackle illegal immigration, none of which are likely to work. And
this, I believe, needs to be our I'm Spartacus moment.
That is a Guardian columnist there calling for people to stand up on the streets and say that they support Palestine Action. I'm not sure he's done it himself yet. I wonder why. But Palestine Action are apparently planning on overwhelming the police this Saturday. Stay tuned. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Well, get ready, because thousands of pro-Palestine protesters are planning to defy terror laws in a calculated attempt to overwhelm the police this weekend. That's according to an undercover Daily Telegraph report. A briefing document seen by the newspaper showed that campaigners believe that by declaring their support for the banned terror group Palestine Action en masse, it will be quite practically and politically difficult for the state to respond to an action of this scale. Well, under the Terrorism Act 2000, pledging support for Palestine Action is now punishable by up to 14 years in prison. And more than 200 people have so far been arrested for this offence, but with a 25-year backlog in the courts, that can't be right, surely. Anyway, a large backlog in the courts and a shortage of prison spaces, how would the government deal with a protest like this? Joining me now is retired police officer Graham Wetton. Graham, thank you very, very much. Right, OK, so practically speaking, if like 10,000 people marched on London on Saturday and all said that they supported Palestine Action, what do we do about that?
Good evening, Patrick. Well, hopefully it won't be 10,000. I think the group itself is called Defend Our Juries, and they're up there looking or intending to get 500 people. They're going to make a decision tomorrow whether they're going to go ahead with this protest, and what they want is people to turn up with a banner or a placard saying, I oppose genocide, and then I support Palestine Action on the same placard. And their intention is to try and frustrate the justice system. So bring the police into almost like a standstill by the number of arrests that will need to be made. And then clearly, with another couple of hundred people going into the criminal justice system, just basically clog the whole system up because it will slow down all the trials, etc.
How many prison cells have we got spare?
Well, you never know how many you got spare because London and across the country, but definitely within London, there's people being arrested throughout the day, throughout the night. So there's basically the Met keep track of how many cell spaces they've got at any time. So when you arrest somebody on the street, you normally call up the control room, you ask for a custody centre to be allocated to you, and you're told where you're taking that person you've arrested. So it depends on the day and the time, roughly how many there are. They have enough to cope with around 500 if need be. They can also, if they've got time to do this, they can actually open some other spare capacity custody spaces for them. And then also what they've done previously, we have moved people outside of London. We've taken them outside of London to some of the home county forces, and located or lodged people that have been arrested there. So there's a number of tactical options for them on Saturday if a few hundred people turn up and decide to commit this offence.
Well, someone I am expecting to see there, and I certainly think he should be there, is a Guardian columnist, George Monbiot, and he had this to say earlier on.
This, I believe, needs to be our I'm Spartacus moment, where one after another we stand up and say, I support Palestine action. I support Palestine action. If tens of thousands of us do that, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to arrest and jail us all?
Well, hang on a minute. He's like the Pied Piper there, isn't he? So people are going to go out on the streets, maybe go, all right then, George, I'll go and say I support a banned terrorist organisation, and they get nicked. And what's he going to do? Is he going to do anything? I mean, surely George Monbiot has to put his money where his mouth is and go out on the streets on Saturday and declare proudly he supports a banned terrorist organisation.
Well, we're waiting to see what happens on Saturday. As I said, the group themselves are making a decision tomorrow if they've got sufficient support and the numbers that they want to achieve their objective. The Met will deal with it, as they always do. There's a number of tactical options. They can arrest all the people if they've got enough capacity for cell space, or they can, as I said, they can lodge them in some of the county forces if they've made that arrangement, or they can arrest them on the street, identify them, and then bail them to come to a police station at a later date. Or they can just literally gather the evidence on the day, and lo and behold, maybe in a week or two, at some unearthly time in the morning, like 5 or 6 o'clock, there'll be a knock on the door. Because what the group has said is people need to almost like plan to come along on Saturday and plan to be arrested, like they've organised it. So they're prepared for it. Whenever I've arrested people at 5 or 6 in the morning, they are very, very ill prepared to be arrested and taken to a police station. So it might not work out quite as they hope it's going to this weekend if they go ahead with this protest.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens, of course, and I do certainly hope that George Monbiot is front and centre, because it would be a real shame, I think, for George if he's, could stand accused of winding people up, marching them up the hill, and then letting them take the flak and take the hits and take the criminal record, and he just carries on sitting in whatever leafy suburb he lives in, writing opinion pieces for the Guardian. I think it would be a real shame, but of course he's not here to defend himself. Anyway, Graham, thank you very much, Graham Wetton, retired police officer. It does raise a serious point, though, which is practically what happens. All right, if there's a few hundred people, fine, but why if 1,000 people decide to do it? But anyway, coming up, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has named former prison governor Vanessa Frake as a new justice advisor. Slight issue is that Vanessa Frake appears to think that some blokes should be allowed in women's prisons. Bit of a problem. But coming up next, 3 new illegal immigration policies announced by the government. None of them will work, and I'll tell you why next.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Floris has already broken some August wind gust records across parts of Scotland, and we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to stay very windy indeed, especially for the far north and northeast of Scotland as Floris moves away overnight. And it's going to be a blustery night wherever you are, but the peak wind gusts of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 to 90 will be felt across the far north and northeast of Scotland, continuing to bring disruption because of the unseasonable and unusually strong nature of Floris. Blustery elsewhere across the UK, further showers following into much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, North and West Wales, 1 or 2 showers further south. But overall, a dry start to the day for southern parts of the UK, a very blustery and showery start to the day for much of Scotland, especially the far north of Scotland, Shetland seeing, again, 50, 60 mile-per-hour wind gusts as we begin Tuesday. So it's still going to be very windy, even as Floris heads into Norway. Across the rest of Scotland, as well as Northern Ireland, not quite as windy as we've started the week. And those gusty winds continue to drive showers into northwestern parts of the UK in particular. Some heavy downpours interspersed by brighter spells. And all in all, things are very gradually calming down through Tuesday, but it will take a time. It's going to be a breezy day wherever you are. The brightest skies will be in the south, with temperatures responding well, 23, 24 Celsius. Further north, feeling cool with that gusty wind continuing into the afternoon and those showers coming and going. Wednesday starts off calm, plenty of sunshine across the UK, some patchy cloud in the far north, a bit of a breeze here, and outbreaks of rain moving through. But mostly Wednesday settled. We've got high pressure in place, plenty of sunny skies. Then another low comes along for Thursday and Friday, not quite as potent as Storm Floris, but still bringing some strong winds to the far north.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Let us take on some of your financial stresses and pay your mortgage or rent for the next 12 months. We want to give you a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an unbelievable £20,000. We'll also boost that by a further £5,000, so you really could have some fun in the coming year. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight. They're bussing asylum seekers in the dead of night. And the illegals keep on coming and advertising on TikTok and... Imagine the smell. Antifa take to the streets, and at least the asylum minister is on top of her game.
Backlogs in the system, which we're getting down. We are doing much more work with our colleagues.
What backlogs are coming down?
Grief. Nigel Farage has had enough.
Where should they be deported to if their country isn't safe or if another country won't accept them?
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. If you come from Afghanistan, you go back to Afghanistan. End of.
Yeah. In other news...
Should trans women be automatically removed from all women's prisons all the time?
No, I don't think they should.
Yikes. Well, Reform's new prison czar seems to think that men can be allowed into women's prisons. And what do you think of this advert?
We ain't got no troubles, no reason to complain. 'Cause here in Great Old Britain, we just love it when it rains. Morning.
On my panel tonight is Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and former Tory advisor James Price. Oh, and we pay tribute to my friend and a titan of broadcasting, James Whale, MBE. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Labour's new migrant policies are as useful as a chocolate teapot. Next.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom at just after 10 o'clock. The top story, the government is pledging an extra £100 million to, they say, smash people smuggling gangs. The cash will fund 300 new National Crime Agency officers, bolster the UK's return deal with France and upgrade intelligence technology. More than 25,000 migrants have already crossed the Channel in small boats this year alone. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has said that Labour is laying the foundations for stronger law enforcement. But the Shadow Treasury's James Wilde thinks it's just all a distraction. A 42-year-old man understood to be activist Tommy Robinson has tonight been arrested at Luton Airport in connection with an alleged assault at St Pancras Station. It comes after footage emerged appearing to show Robinson walking away from the scene of that incident last month. British Transport Police say the man had flown in from Faro in Portugal after leaving the country for Tenerife following the incident. He was arrested shortly after 6:30 this evening on suspicion of grievous bodily harm, and officers say he is now in custody and being questioned. The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, heads into fresh talks with the BMA this week. He's hoping to prevent another wave of strikes by resident doctors. It follows a 5-day walkout last week, with NHS England claiming fewer than a third of doctors took part. The BMA, though, disputes those figures, arguing shift patterns make the data unreliable. The dispute has already caused major disruption, and both sides are now under pressure to find a resolution, with those talks expected to continue over the coming days. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has named former prison governor Vanessa Frake as his new justice advisor as he is ramping up his party's campaign on crime. She says Britain's prison system is on its knees, accusing successive governments of failing miserably to tackle reoffending and support for inmates after release. She's backing tougher sentences for lifers and wants urgent reforms focused on rehabilitation. It's the second high-profile appointment today after Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner Rupert Matthews also defected to Reform. Mr Farage says both moves mark a major moment in his justice agenda. Millions of drivers could be owed compensation after being missold car finance deals, with payouts potentially totalling up to £19 billion. The Financial Conduct Authority says some lenders failed to properly disclose commission payments to car dealers between 2007 and 2021. It's now preparing to consult on a possible formal redress scheme due to be confirmed by October. If approved, payouts would begin in 2026. The average payment expected to be around £950. Drivers who have already complained won't need to do anything further in order to receive a repayment. Dame Stella Rimington, the trailblazing housewife super spy, as she was known, has sadly died today at the age of 90. She made history as the first woman to lead MI5 and inspired Dame Judi Dench's iconic portrayal of M in the James Bond films. Her family had said in a statement that she was surrounded by loved ones and her dogs, holding on, they say, to life until her very last breath. Well, let's bring you an update then on the weather situation. Storm Floris has slammed into the UK today with up to 80-mile-an-hour winds recorded, toppling trees, cutting power lines and 22,000 homes losing electricity. Travel chaos also triggered. Flights, ferries and trains were hit across the north, with LNER and Aventi West Coast urging passengers not to travel. Major bridges also shut, and ferry operators are also warning of widespread disruption. Some parks and recycling centres have also closed, and even student exam results have been delivered across Scotland. And just before I hand you to Patrick, let's bring you a breaking update, a line just into us here in the GB newsroom that The Sun is reporting that the repair shop star, Jay Blades, has been charged with 2 counts of rape. Police confirming those allegations against the 55-year-old. He's a dad of 3 from Shropshire. West Mercia Police saying, quote, Jason Blades, 55, of Claverley in Shropshire, has been charged with those 2 counts of rape. The statement continues. He is due to appear in Telford Magistrates Court on the 13th of this month. So just to recap that breaking news just into us, that The Sun reporting repair shop star Jay Blades has been charged with 2 counts of rape. Plenty more on that breaking news with Patrick later this hour, and we can hand back to him right now.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Today, the government announced several new policies to tackle illegal immigration. None of them will work. Yvette Cooper's one-in, one-out deal with the French has been signed off by the EU, and it will come into force this week. It is a pilot scheme. It will see less than 1 boatload of illegals deported every week, and in return, we will get another 50. Plus, whoever else makes it across the channel, arguably, will receive more migrants. So that's rubbish. A few hours ago, Sir Keir Starmer put out this glossy video. He's announced £100 million of your money is going to be spent on new officers for the National Crime Agency and technology to help them monitor people coming across the channel. Now, people think that the National Crime Agency is full of big, burly police officers or James Bond-style figures. It isn't. Here's what the NCA is, according to its own website. Some of our officers come from a law enforcement or intelligence background. Many do not. From the civil service to the private sector or straight from school. NCA officers come from all walks of life. Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths. Brilliant. That's great. Great stuff. The third announcement is that promoting channel crossings on TikTok is going to be illegal, so they want to stop this.
طقس ربي يبارك ها شو رايك وجمعة وراحات شوف ما شاء الله شوف الأجواء الله أكبر الأجواء جدا جميلة والأجواء جدا رائعة يومكم طيب هلا والله هلا يلا يا سيدي أجواءك وفعالياتك شمر لي درعانك ويا سيدي مرحبا.
Well, I understood 2 words there. They say you'll get 5 years in prison if you promote channel crossings. Well, firstly, how are they going to do that when most of the accounts promoting it are based outside the UK? Secondly, when I went to that big warehouse full of Sudanese, Eritrean and Ethiopian lads in Calais and they started filming me... Show at GB News, I know that you're filming me. Is it possible to have a quick conversation with you at all about how you plan on coming to Britain? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Hey, guys. All got the phones out there, haven't they? All got the phones out. And then some of them put that on their TikTok pages. Hello, how are you? My name's Patrick. I do a show at GB News. I know that you're filming me. Is it possible to have a quick conversation with you at all about how you plan on coming to Britain? Yeah, along with a video diary of their entire trip across Europe. Does that count as them promoting illegal entry into Britain? A video diary of your trip across Europe. So are all those lads going to be nicked? I doubt it. Talking of loads of lads, this has to be the most ridiculous policy of all. Yvette Cooper has said that she'll make it illegal to put more than 80 people on a boat. They're already breaking into Britain, Miss Cooper. It's already illegal. 79 strapping lads from South Sudan is fine, is it? It's the 80th that tipped you over the edge. Mental. And all this culminates in an interview this morning with Dame Angela Regal, who is the Minister of State for Border Security and Asylum. She went on Good Morning Britain. Any guesses as to who interviewed her? Oh, right, that's the Home Secretary's husband, Ed Balls, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. He interviewed a minister about his wife's own policies. And Ofcom is just absolutely fine with that, isn't it? Absolutely fine. I'm not surprised she won't come on GB News, by the way, because here's how it went whilst her boss's husband was there to serve a few underarm deliveries at her.
But there's no quick, easy fix to
Well,
this.
give us the evidence first before you get into the fact it's got to be slow, because that, I think, people would like to hear.
Well, we inherited a terrible situation with huge backlogs in the system, which we're getting down. We are...
pathetic. I mean, there's no evidence of it working, but it gets worse.
The previous government had a 70% fall in asylum decision-making, so there was just hundreds, thousands of people backed up in the system not having
what
decisions
is it now?
at all.
What's the percentage now?
We've got it down to 78,000 for first initial decisions. We've had a 116% increase in asylum decision-making, which is getting the system moving again. There's now a backlog developing in the appeals system.
Bingo! There we go. So they've processed more cases, which means that more people have been approved, and all the ones who haven't can still appeal. We had one woman who appealed 8 times and then pretended to join a proscribed Nigerian terrorist group so that we couldn't send her back there, and then she was allowed to stay. Look, it's really simple. The only answer is mass deportations. So compare Angela Eagle's guff with this.
Where should they be deported to if their country isn't safe or if another country won't accept them?
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. If you come from Afghanistan, you go back to Afghanistan. End of. This idea we can't send people to certain countries, all the false claims that people make about their own personal lives. I'm sorry, we're done. We're done. We've had enough.
Flight to Kabul, anyone? Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Daily Press columnist Carol Malone. We've got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, former political advisor to the Tories James Price. Right, OK, so, Carol, I'll start with you. So several what I'm calling chocolate teapot policies. Not really sure any of them are going to work.
I mean, what Angela Eagle just said there, I'm tempted to call her an eagle, like the actress, but anyway, no, it's Eagle. What she said there was she was talking about this clearing the backlog. Well, the reason they've cleared the backlog is that as of in the year ending March this year, 99% of Sudanese migrants have been granted asylum, 98% of Syrian have been granted asylum, and 86% of Eritreans. So all they're doing is granting everyone who comes here asylum. So there's the one thing. The one-in, one-out scheme is never going to work. 100 million quid to get rid of 50 a week and to take another 50. But they're talking about this 100 million like they're giving it. That's our money. That's the British taxpayers' money. And Starmer put out a tweet today. I mean, the man, he thinks we're all idiots. I mean, it really annoys me. He says, I will use every tool at my disposal to control our borders. No, you're not doing that, sweetheart. You're just not controlling our borders. And they keep on doing these ridiculous, silly little policies that these are just tinkering around the edges of the problem and hoping that the British public are going to swallow it, while currently the British public are on the streets demonstrating. They're not swallowing it.
Well, quite. James, so I've just had an advanced sight of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph, and on the sidebar there, they talk about how small boat migrants are set to be deported within the week. This is because the EU has essentially ratified the deal with the French for this one-in, one-out thing. I am of the view, unless I've misunderstood this, I'm of the view that this will actually mean more migrants.
I think it's, yeah, exactly right. Even if on the face of that one in, one out, well, the net reduction there would be 0, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Even on that alone. I think it's just the fact that they'll take about 5%, which, again, is not going to be enough of this. And as Carol said, all these little announcements, this is just trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic until and unless we have a fundamental resorting of how the law works in this country. People have been talking about the ECHR, that's a big part of it, and how that has been woven into domestic laws for nearly 30 years now, starting in a big way with Tony Blair and the Human Rights Act, which sounds nice, but I think some people will remember that before 1998 we did have some human rights still in this country.
Yes.
Right? But and then it's this fact that it's human rights that are now being used against the British people. So these people have a right to this, that and the other that most people in the country don't have. And far from them fleeing war-torn countries, what did we see there? Them having a lovely jolly as a road trip on their way up from the Mediterranean, on their way through Paris, seeing the Eiffel Tower, coming up to Calais, because they know when they get here, they're going to get shed loads of benefits from us.
I can't wait for that. to make it to Britain, by the way, because he is. I bumped into him in that warehouse. He filmed me. He has his TikTok is just his trip. He's going off to Gran Canaria. He's been all the way through. He's better travel. He's seen more European countries than I have. This lad. He's going to end up to Britain, and we're going to be the ones who have to take him. Why? I'm going to do a sit-down interview with our mate. He's from Libya, by the way. I'm going to end up doing a sit-down interview with this lad, I think, at some point. But OK, so some of those policies that we mentioned there, you know, I think that 50 people going back a week. So. But we're going to return 50 people to France, then the French are going to send us 50 in return, and we're going to have to keep everyone else who arrived on a small boat anyway.
Well, the process they're going to do is that if people have a relative who's already in the UK, they are under eligible for refugee status, then they can come in, and France will take back people who are ineligible. Now, in the first hour, you were talking about the anger at people being in so-called migrant hotels. Well, this is a way to massively reduce that, because people will be dealt with out of having to be in a hotel for 12 to 18 months, which is the average.
Does it not mean that anyone in the world who's got a relative in Britain can just now come across the channel?
Well, no, because, of course, it'll be only the people that have already taken that journey to get to Calais, to France.
Right.
And so this is a step forward, but this is a step forward because that's going to massively reduce the cost to the British taxpayer.
No, it isn't.
That is not true.
That is a lie.
We've got to take on points that you say. It's not, because lawyers have already said that the 50 that are picked to go will appeal that, so they won't be going. So no one will be going. French will be sending 50 more. We're going to be fighting court cases for the 50 who have been picked to go and won't. So that's not going to work.
OK, I just want to go, because there's another policy in this that we've not really spoken about yet. So this thing, if you promote your journey on TikTok, you can face 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
Well, how are they going to enforce that? Everyone TikToks about it. We'll lock them all up for 5 years.
Right, there is no way to enforce this. No. Absolutely right. What worries me about this is the fact that not just the fun tourist videos we're seeing on TikTok, but there are reports now, very seriously, that these guys, the smugglers, are using footage of young English girls on a night out, not wearing very much, getting boozed up, all the rest of it, saying, look, come over to England and here's the kind of fun that you can have. And this is this point, they're coming over here because they want a better life. No, it's because they've been told not just the benefits we've just talked about, not just a free iPhone or Samsung, and they get a choice of which, but look, it is an easy, defenceless country where you can come and cause mayhem, and that's what they're coming over here for in far, far too many cases.
But don't you
forget, it's the young men coming over, right? If you're fleeing war, why are you leaving your wives and children behind?
I know. It's ridiculous.
But don't you think it's time the Starmer and this man to smash the gangs? It's nonsense. It's operationally impossible. What we should be focusing on is not the gangs, but the migrants themselves. They've come here without an invitation. They've come here to stay, to collect our benefits. Stop the benefits. You know, what happened to the rules that the Tories had about if you came here illegally, you are eligible to be deported?
Labour scrapped it.
I know they did, but that's what I'm saying. Why?
I just want to get one more in. I'll put this to you, Benjamin, if that's all right, because the other thing that was announced there, big fanfare, this Keir Starmer glossy video, Dame Angela Eagle struggling to get her words out while Yvette Cooper's husband, talked to her about it on Good Morning Britain in a way that is obviously entirely Ofcom compliant. So fantastic, well done, Mr. Balls. Anyway, 100 million quid for the National Crime Agency. I'm sorry, the National Crime Agency's own website has diversity as our greatest strength on the home page. It's poxy, isn't it? I think that's a really unfair criticism, because the point they were clearly making...
What's on that website?
But hang on, the diversity they were referring to in the previous sentences was that they take school leavers, they take people in the private sector. Yeah. It's not just traditional police officers, which I would say is a good example of getting different skills into that workforce.
It's not working, is it?
I think you're being rather unfair.
Right.
Well, look, you need the resource, because clearly there isn't enough resource to tackle the problem. The point I was just going to make is that...
let's give them more money, should we?
Well, yes,
let's fight them with this. Let's give them more millions.
I did recently take a flight to Kabul. I was there for Kabul Pride, or on rooftops only. But
I don't know if you're joking.
No, I was in Kabul 2 weeks ago.
OK, right.
And the Kabul Pride was a joke, naturally.
Yeah, right, that's the one, yeah.
It was really interesting, actually, that, the cultural difference was obvious. The young men there were extremely sexually frustrated because it's against the law to not be married. And so, you can see the problem with the cultural difference there when they come here, because it was from the conversation.
But is that OK, then?
And the point of that is that they will never... The point of that is that they will never be able to integrate into British culture. They will never be able to do that. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're just, let's go and re-educate them. Not interested in that.
And the other thing they're going to do as well, which is really going to smash the gangs, they're going to penalise universities for not letting foreign students finish their courses.
Yes.
I mean, that's a really...
Well, that is a racket. Right, OK, we're going to have to whiz ourselves on. Here's one that I hope you can't enter if you're watching from a migrant hotel, but it's your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and get a bonus £5,000 in your bank. It's the Great British Giveaway. Guess what? If you haven't got a mortgage or rent to pay, you can still enter and win 15 grand. So come on, get calling up. Here you go.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year in the latest Great British Giveaway. That's right, we'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up, tomorrow's front pages, The Times looks interesting. They've got something there about publishing the nationality and ethnicity of sex offenders. But first...
Where should they be deported to if their country isn't safe or if another country won't accept them?
I'm sorry, I've had enough of this. If you come from Afghanistan, you go back to Afghanistan.
Well, Nigel got a lot of popularity for saying that earlier on. However, there's been a bit of controversy because their new prison czar and justice czar appears to say that they think that some men should be allowed in women's prisons. So I think we should have a chat about that next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It's a really nice idea to get the public involved, and it's our notes, isn't it? So why shouldn't the public have to say on who's on notes? And it's not just people, it's also places and anything particularly British. I mean, I'd like to see Big Ben on some notes, which is a very distinctive element of this country. Big Ben, everybody recognises Big Ben across the world. Being rather popular, so I'd have the Beatles on there. The best band that we've ever had, the best band in the world ever.
For heaven's sake, not
careful, you'll upset the viewers. Beatles are fantastic. But you want to something like that which recognises the talent that's been in this country. We've had Shakespeare, of course, and we've had Winston Churchill. But let's have something a bit more up to date.
David Attenborough.
A brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Brilliant idea.
No, I've just come up with that, and I thought that was quite good. And then they also encourage ideas, nature, don't they? So I thought maybe some acorns.
Why not a beaver?
A beaver is a great idea, Claire.
Two things.
And a dam.
Two things to mention on this, right? One, you still cannot pass a Scottish note in anywhere in England, and for fear it will not be accepted as legal tender, right?
But can they not?
It is legal tender.
Of course
but it is legal. Yeah, it is legal tender. Same as an Ulster note.
Yeah.
It's all sterling. It's got the word sterling written on it and whatever. But you do find a certain resistance to...
Huge resistance. And see, the minute they start to hold it up in the air, I'm like, I'm going to get you. Just don't ignite.
When I came back from Aberdeen last time, full of Scottish notes, and I went into shops, I didn't have any resistance, and I was ready for it, though. I was ready for it. I was going to say, well, take it or leave it.
It's legal tender.
It's legal tender.
Yeah, but the other thing is it not the Bank of England that wants to remove the historical characters on the notes? I mean, who actually uses cash? I prefer to use cash.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script. You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week. Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I've just got advance sight of tomorrow's Daily Express. British state is failing to protect women and girls. It's a big revelation, this, from the Daily Express. Officials have admitted that they don't keep a record of how many sex offences are committed by asylum seekers. So, big news there. We'll talk about that in the newspaper show from 11 p.m. However, before that, earlier today, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage announced Reform's latest defections, as well as their latest updates on their criminal justice campaign. The highlight was former prison governor Vanessa Frake, who said that Britain's justice system is on its knees and accused successive governments of failing miserably to tackle reoffending and support for inmates after they've been released. She is backing tougher sentences and wants urgent reforms and a focus on rehabilitation. She's also a regular on this show as well, to be fair, and regular viewers and listeners will know Vanessa, and I think she's quite popular. However, she did come under fire this morning when she made these comments about trans prisoners.
Should trans women be automatically removed from all women's prisons all the time?
No, I don't think they should. What I do think is that each should be risk assessed on an individual basis. You know, I think it depends on a lot of factors. And the prison service is, you know, my life was spent doing risk assessments. And, you know, I think based on that risk assessment depends on where that person should go. Look, I'm not an expert on trans people. All that I know is that everybody should be treated with humanity and decency.
Well, a lot of people were quite concerned about that, I think rightly so, myself included, to be honest with you. I don't really think there's any circumstance in which a bloke should be in a women's prison. But Vanessa Frake then spoke to GB News earlier after she made those comments. Here's what she had to say.
I have never suggested that I would ever put any at-risk prisoner into the general population, and nor did I ever suggest that putting a prisoner who is a risk to other prisoners into the general population. I have worked with female offenders. I have seen the abuse that they have suffered. I would never, ever put a female offender in a position that brought back any angst or worry or concern to a female prisoner. Can I make that perfectly clear?
OK, well, what do we make of that, then? So Lara Brown is the commissioning editor at The Spectator, joins us now. Lara, I'll just throw it your way. Well, what do you make of what we've heard there in both those clips?
I'll start by saying I really respect Vanessa Frake. I think she's great on this show. She's got a brilliant book. She knows crime really well. But I think that if you look at her comments today and her comments over the last few years, she's clearly quite significantly to the left of Reform and to the left, I'd say, of Labour and the Conservatives. I mean, this morning, for example, she has still, throughout the day, not confirmed there are no situations in which she'd allow a biological man to be in a women's prison. That is the status of the law. It is the only safeguarding position that has any sense. And Reform currently have a position, if she doesn't adopt it, if, you know, that isn't changed, it is to the left of the Conservatives and the left of Labour, because Farage spoke about risk assessments at the press conference this morning, not about a clear stance. But she said other things that concern me. So in August 2024, Vanessa told Julia Hartley-Brewer that there is no point in sending someone to prison for less than 12 months. So Labour's been trying to abolish short prison sentences for a long time, and the Conservatives have been opposing this quite consistently. And I'm wondering now, are Reform suddenly going to join Labour on their opposition for short sentences? She also said back in October on Radio 5, there are a lot of people in prison who shouldn't be there, which is quite interesting because we know that 99.5% of crimes don't result in a criminal sentence. I would say that the UK has a far too permissive approach to crime. I think that far too many criminals walk free with community orders that require very little of them or cautions, and very few go to prison. We have a prison place crisis. But Reform now have someone headlining their prison policy who doesn't seem to agree with that. And that is very, very surprising to me.
I suspect, she's obviously not here to defend herself, but I mean, I suspect that what she might say is if you were trans, but you're still a bloke, obviously, and had, like, committed a fraud offence or something and lived as a woman quotes unquote, for like 40 years. Why is it harmful to put that person in a women's prison?
We know that men are significantly stronger than women. We know they're capable of doing violent crimes and rape. You cannot know which men are going to do those crimes. So obviously it's unimaginably dangerous to put a sex offender in a women's prison, but it's dangerous to put any man in a women's prison. There's a reason these are single-sex spaces. The reason they're segregated. We often have communal sleeping arrangements. You haven't got guards watching a prison at all times. You cannot make a gamble that a biological man who has done some fraud and doesn't seem violent will be safe in the female population. It's not fair to put hundreds of women's lives at risk because you think it will be okay. And the Supreme Court judgment clearly affirms that. Prisons have a legal obligation to provide single-sex spaces, no exceptions.
So how tricky is this for reform now then, do you think, really? Because announced another thing today with big fanfare. The last poll I looked at shortly before I came on air had them 11 points ahead. So, you know, they're doing rather well, clearly. How big a problem is it for them if their new prisons or justice czar, seems a little bit squiffy on gender?
Look, it was a good press conference. There was a lot of good announcements. It had the typical reform problem of nothing being costed. I mean, there's some great plans for supermax prisons and no way to pay for them, but it was good ideas. But I think they've now got this massive weight on them of a prisons minister, or not a prison minister, of a justice advisor and someone on their crime justice task force who is much more weak on crime. And it's not just gender, which is really worrying. And obviously the public is not with her on gender. We know that. The public believe that you can't change sex, but also really weak on short prison sentences. I think some Policy Exchange polling commissioned a few years ago found that 49% of people believe that a community are not happy with the use of community orders rather than short-term prison sentences. So to have a UK Justice Minister who supports them and who wants less people going to prison, I think will be a big issue for reform. Their strategy going into the next election is clearly to push really hard on being tough on crime. And Vanessa Frake, I don't think really gets that.
Well, we'll see. Laura, thank you very much for all this. Obviously, you've come well equipped there with previous quotes and everything, so it's tremendous stuff. Thank you. It's Laura Brown there, commissioning editor at The Spectator. No, I will say, I kind of feel like I have to declare an interest here, really. We've had Vanessa on this show loads of times. I'd love to have her back on in the future. I must say, I've always thought when I've spoken to her, she's taken a relatively hardline approach. But look, politics is a messy business, isn't it? And the second you get involved in it, people trawl through everything you've ever said in your life, and certain things might come back to haunt you. So we'll have to watch this space, I think, where she and reform really stand on those issues. But coming up, well, look, very sad story this, but James Whale is TV and radio legend. I'm very, very pleased, very blessed to call him a friend as well. He's been tremendously good to me over the course of my career. He sadly died after a long battle with cancer at the age of 74. We're going to be paying tribute to him next. And, of course, as well, revealing all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, including this absolute stonker on the front of the Daily Express. Stay tuned.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across much of Europe over the next couple of days, with thunderstorms across parts of the Balkans, but across parts of Spain and Portugal, we're going to see that heat building over the next couple of days. Maximum temperatures could be reaching up to around 40 degrees and minimum temperatures not dropping much below 20 degrees overnight too. Those thunderstorms will continue across parts of Greece and the Balkans over the next couple of days, but it should be turning a little bit drier towards the end of the week. But that heat does continue to rise by the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Floris has already broken some August wind gust records across parts of Scotland, and we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to stay very windy indeed, especially for the far north and northeast of Scotland as Floris moves away overnight. And it's going to be a blustery night wherever you are, but the peak wind gusts of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 to 90 will be felt across the far north and northeast of Scotland, continuing to bring disruption because of the unseasonable and unusually strong nature of Floris. Blustery elsewhere across the UK, further showers following into much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, North West England, north and west Wales, 1 or 2 showers further south. But overall, a dry start to the day for southern parts of the UK, a very blustery and showery start to the day for much of Scotland, especially the far north of Scotland, Shetland seeing again 50-60 mile-per-hour wind gusts as we begin Tuesday. So it's still going to be very windy even as Flores heads into Norway. Across the rest of Scotland as well as Northern Ireland, not quite as windy as we've started the week, and those gusty winds continue to drive showers into northwestern parts of the UK in particular. Some heavy downpours interspersed by brighter spells, and all in all things are very gradually calming down through Tuesday, but it will take a time. It's going to be a breezy day wherever you are. The brightest skies will be in the south, with temperatures responding well, 23, 24 Celsius. Further north, feeling cool with that gusty wind continuing into the afternoon and those showers coming and going. Wednesday starts off calm, plenty of sunshine across the UK, some patchy cloud in the far north, a bit of a breeze here, and outbreaks of rain moving through. But mostly Wednesday settled. We've got high pressure in place, plenty of sunny skies. Then another low comes along for Thursday and Friday, not quite as potent as Storm Flores, but still bringing some strong winds to the far north.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, welcome back, everybody. Let's have a first look at these front pages, shall we? So the Daily Express, it's a stonker. Fury as officials admit that they do not keep records of sexual offences by asylum seekers. Oh, great. So we all know it's happening regularly, but we're not allowed to officially know how much it's happening, therefore we can't all get so angry about it. Come on. The Daily Mail, Iran asked the Taliban for the spy kill list. So Iran is plotting with the Taliban to exploit the lost database that exposed details of MI6 spies and UK Special Forces. Well, this means one thing and one thing only, more Afghans in Britain, doesn't it? So great, another victory. The Daily Telegraph, parents pay 500 million quid to beat the school VAT raid. Labour's tax grab is expected to fall short. So parents at Britain's top private schools have defied Labour's VAT raid, and they're just paying their fees in advance. So there we are. Well, I suppose it's all right for some if you can do that, isn't it? But the Telegraph analysis shows the most expensive private schools received hundreds of millions of pounds in fees up front. And apparently Jeremy Corbyn is going to go to war with Angela Rayner over the allotment sell-off. Oh, brilliant. Magic Grandpa strikes back. The Guardian, police warn of mass arrests at Palestine Action protests. It's interesting, really. I'm not really sure the police have to warn of it. I mean, if you go there en masse to say that you support a banned terrorist organisation, you should probably expect to be lifted. But there we are. Again, I just urge George Monbiot to turn up because he called for this. He said people need to turn up, do it. I am Spartacus. Well, where are you, George? Come on then, mate. Now, The Sun, very serious story, this, and everything is alleged, I'm very keen to stress. TV's Jay Blades on 2 rape charges. He is I imagine now, former presenter of The Repair Shop. One final one for you, the Metro. Rail network crumbling. The operator, SWR, South Western Railway, says that parched embankments due to a lack of rain have disturbed the tracks. Great. This has got to be the biggest cop-out ever, hasn't it? I mean, as we get leaves on the track, you can't run the trains. It's a bit cold, you can't run the trains. Parched embankments, you can't run the trains. All right, well, so we are going to talk a lot about the front pages, obviously, in this section, the next section, and in the newspaper show that follows. However, I think we wanted to pay tribute, didn't we, to James Whale, who has sadly passed away after a long battle with cancer at the age of 74. So he's a TV and radio legend. He's a titan. and he was known for his iconic phone-ins. He became a household name initially in the 80s. He previously did survive cancer as well, and he founded Kidney Cancer UK and earned an MBE for his charity work. Friends and colleagues remember him as a rule breaker and a good friend. And I would just like to very quickly say a little personal tribute to James Whale as well. There was a time a few years ago when I was at a low ebb career-wise, and it must be said personally as well. And James picked up the phone to me and used to just toss me a few quid every now and again to come on his late-night show on what was then Talk Radio. And that meant a huge amount to me at the time, and it helped get me back in the door, really, and frankly, ultimately helped lead to where I am today. And since then, subsequently, you know, he used to give me semi-regular phone calls, little pep talks, sometimes to slag me off, to be fair, but pep talks and little bits of advice. And I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago and said goodbye. And yeah, he's just a really great guy. I'm you know, it's just a really sad loss. But Carol, you knew James for about 50 years.
I was totting up tonight how long I've actually known him, and it's 50 years I've known him. He started in Newcastle, which is where I'm from, and I was on the local paper, and then suddenly this guy bursts onto a radio station called Metro Radio one night, and as, you know, as journalists, we're all kind of listening for news and whatever, and we were gobsmacked. He was the first ever shock jock. He said it like it was 50 years ago. No one expected it, and he became, although he was in Newcastle for a while, he became a national name very quickly because he wasn't scared to give his opinion and made his whole career subsequent to that. As was, and like you, I've had experience with him when, you know, he helped me out and he was around, but he's always been a mate, you know. If ever I needed a story or whatever, James would say, come over to the house, we'll sort one out. And then we would, him and I. So he's, and I knew when he looked like your film there, when he was as cute as a button. Gorgeous. And we'll miss him. He's had a lot longer than he thought he was going to have, Patrick. When he first got cancer, he thought he had a few years, so he's had 25 years longer than he thought he would. And then on Sunday, in that terrible last interview, he said, I'm ready to go now. And then he did, 24 hours later. Yeah, and Benjamin, I think you were on his show a few times, weren't you?
Yeah, he was a revolutionary broadcaster because he introduced the style that is so popular now. But off-air, he was remarkable for how generous and how kind he was. You know, he used to have me regularly on his show, and he would get in touch outside of being on air to say, you're really good at this, you should keep going. So I apologise to viewers, it's partly James's fault. And I visited him and his wife Nadine at home in Kent after the cancer was made terminal to do a story for the paper. And I was reading that back today, and he said then, if I get 12 months, I'll be lucky. Well, he got 2 years. And he also spoke about how he hates religion, he'd never believed in God, but he'd suddenly started to question it because he was thinking how beautiful life is and how he'd become so grateful for everything that he has. And so, you know, he says it in his last podcast recording that came out in his Express column, but he says about how he was happy with what he'd had. And I think a lot of people, not just us, will be saying thank you for his work today.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually, just as you were talking there, I was having a little look back at some of the text messages. It was a couple of weeks ago he messaged me. He was apparently a fan of the live studio audience show that we do on a Friday. But that's quite James Whale, isn't it? Because it's chaotic, it's there, you've got a live audience in front of you. That's very much his bag, really. And, yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible sad loss, but a lesson in, you know, kind of stoic broadcasting right until the end, I suppose, James.
Yeah, I think my favourite clip was maybe from a couple of years ago, maybe last year. He had some loony guy on who was talking about how it would be perfectly wrong to ban having sex with your cousin.
Yes.
And he just went off on one about it. And people should go and look it up, because that is how you do broadcasting. Yeah. Amazing to watch.
Yeah, well, he was a genre creator. There's a lot of people who do owe him a heck of a lot. I am one of those people. And, yeah, well, you know, what a life, eh? Be sadly missed, and cancer is a terrible thing. But, like you said, Carol,
he wrestled with it and fought it and for 25 years. If anyone kicked its backside, James Whale did.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the memories. And I think that's one of the beautiful things as well, to be fair, about being in the industry that we're in, you know, TV, radio and all of that, is that there's an archive of stuff there. So, you know, you can go back, you can watch it, and you do kind of live forever in that way, really. But all right, well, look, we're gonna take a little break now. When we come back, we will actually do the front pages, but I just wanted to pay tribute there quickly to James Whale as a good mate and a tremendous tremendous broadcaster as well. Look, stay tuned.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
In London alone, 80,000 smartphones were stolen just last year. And organised crime groups are also stealing the devices in bulk with violent robberies at phone shops.
So Mark White, Mark's our Home and Security editor. He's put together this report and he's been given exclusive access to the flying squad's operation. So let's have a look.
We're on board with these officers from South East London as they prepare to rendezvous with the team from the Met's flying squad. Their target, an organised crime group suspected of involvement in a series of violent robberies. The gang's believed to have struck mobile phone shops in more than a dozen different locations, stuffing holdalls full of high-value smartphones in each raid. This is rare access. The flying squad is the Met's elite robbery and kidnap unit, dealing with some of the country's most hardened criminals.
Please open the door, it's going in!
Inside are the two suspects they're looking for.
We'll come down and speak to him just 2 seconds, all right? You're under arrest for mobile phone shops between March and June 2025.
As a drug sniffer dog arrives to help search the property, other officers find what they think is a small packet of drugs thrown from a bedroom window.
It's crack cocaine.
Well, it's just after 6 a.m. and the two suspects at this address have had a rather rude awakening. Raids are also happening at another dozen addresses around this area.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome back. Let's round off tomorrow's front pages. The Times, PM and police at odds over migrant suspects. Growing row after child rape, quote, cover-up claim. Starmer's calling for transparency on identities. It's a real shocker of a story, this. You know, the allegation that essentially police forces are urging councils, etc., to cover up who is committing sex crimes. The Eye, Home Office to detain small boat migrants for deportation to France in days. Yeah, OK, but then they're just going to fly in more. Right, the Mirror, fanning the flames, Farage sparks fury. Reform leader is labelled fake patriot seeking to exploit divisions. Well, that makes a change, because I think last week they said he was paedophile adjacent, so this is probably a step up from that, isn't it? Again, another thing that I don't think is going to bother Nigel. But anyway, right, look, we're obviously a bit pressed for time here. We've got the paper show afterwards. We're going to get stuck into the detail, but well, why don't we do the... just quickly touch on the Daily Express front page here. Is a British state failing to protect women and girls? So we are not keeping a record of sexual offences by asylum seekers, James?
Yeah, we don't keep all sorts of records. About 20 years ago, we stopped taking records of who is actually leaving the country as well. You know, some tiny bit of saving money on it all. So we don't know who's in the country. We don't know who's committing the crimes and all the rest of it. The big thing I think people should think about is you should expect, in a normal world, that native Brits are vastly overrepresented compared to foreigners when it comes to crimes. If you think you're a Brit and you go and you live in Denmark or somewhere, you'd be on your best behaviour because you know if you commit even a small crime, you can reasonably expect to be deported. So the fact that some people from some countries and some cultures are overrepresented in crime stats or committing crimes at all and are staying here is completely
But
mad.
to me, we use the word cover-up quite a lot, but I feel... words cover up. But I feel like it surely is very easy to collate data on the amount of crimes asylum seekers are committing. Why haven't we got it?
Well, we know, and I mentioned earlier in the show, that there are nearly 2,000 foreign sex offenders in jails. 40% of all sex crimes in London are committed by foreigners. Now, so if they can collect that, they can collect everything else. And the reason that their excuse for hiding it is that it's going to stop tensions in communities. It's going to stop right. No, it isn't. It isn't, because what is causing the tensions is the politicians' inaction over illegal immigration and ordinary immigration. Actually.
What it will wonderfully show as well is that Americans and Japanese and Canadians, whoever else, they will do a lot fewer crimes.
Yes,
and you'll see people from certain countries doing a lot more. So it will dispel the idea that it's all foreign.
And we'll have
a talk about culture.
Exactly. And this is the thing, especially in the last few months, we have started to get a basket of different data sets and figures that are shattering. These things that people were talking about earlier. Benjamin, I'll just put this to you because it kind of links in a bit with the Times front page. So it's on the front of the Times, which is apparently Keir Starmer's calling for greater transparency. So police forces appear to be saying that they don't want to reveal the ethnicity and nationality of people committing crimes, but presumably because they don't want to have to deal with the protests that follow.
Well, I think it should be revealed because the data and ethnicity, you should have the transparency. But the question I would put, that maybe is what police officers would put, is what do you then do with that data? It's surely wrong to apply that to all people of that nationality and background. And so could that lead to protests that are quite racially motivated in a very prejudiced way? And also, when you look at national government, is it right, therefore, to say that someone from Afghanistan who helped Allied forces and is at risk there shouldn't get a right to come here because other Afghans have committed sex crimes? I don't know that would be a reasonable conclusion.
I'll tell you what the data does. When we're told constantly, time and again, that immigration is great for this country, this data shows it is not great for this country.
Well, it probably will.
That's one thing.
And we're finding as well with some other stats, when you look at Denmark again, who've done this, they've seen certain people from certain countries, not even about crime, but just the economic contribution they're going to make. The people at the peak of their earning power will never contribute more than they take out. So you start saying, well, we don't need these people coming from these countries because they're just going to be a drag.
I feel as though, I kind of hope I'm right about this. I don't mean this in like a violent sense. I feel like we're at a kind of tipping point now where we're getting all of these different sets of data, we're getting all of these different facts and figures that are confirming what a lot of people thought they could see and feel with their own lived experience for decades, and now it's like, well, it turns out to all be true. So there we go. But anyway, look, there's a whole raft of front pages that I can't wait to get stuck into in the next hour with Late Edition. Thank you to my wonderful panel as well. I think at least one of you is sticking around. One of you, good, is sticking around. We've got Kelvin McKenzie and we've got Leo Curse on for the next hour. Like I said, lots to get stuck into, and I will see you in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Storm Floris has already broken some August wind gust records across parts of Scotland, and we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to stay very windy indeed, especially for the far north and northeast of Scotland as Floris moves away overnight. And it's going to be a blustery night wherever you are, but the peak wind gusts of 60 to 70, perhaps 80 to 90 will be felt across the far north and northeast of Scotland, continuing to bring disruption because of the unseasonable and unusually strong nature of Floris. Blustery elsewhere across the UK, further showers following into much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, north and west Wales, 1 or 2 showers further south. But overall, a dry start to the day for southern parts of the UK, a very blustery and showery start to the day for much of Scotland, especially the far north of Scotland, Shetland seeing, again, 50-60 mile-per-hour wind gusts as we begin Tuesday. So it's still going to be very windy, even as Floris heads into Norway. Across the rest of Scotland, as well as Northern One Island not quite as windy as we've started the week, and those gusty winds continue to drive showers into northwestern parts of the UK in particular. Some heavy downpours interspersed by brighter spells, and all in all, things are very gradually calming down through Tuesday, but it will take a time. It's going to be a breezy day wherever you are. The brightest skies will be in the south, with temperatures responding well, 23, 24 Celsius. Further north, feeling cool with that gusty wind continuing into the afternoon and those showers coming and going. Wednesday starts off calm, plenty of sunshine across the UK, some patchy cloud in the far north, a bit of a breeze here, and outbreaks of rain moving through. But mostly Wednesday settled. We've got high pressure in place, plenty of sunny skies. Then another low comes along for Thursday and Friday, not quite as potent as Storm Floris, but still bringing some strong winds to the far north.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Absolutely loads of good stuff coming your way in the front pages. My good stuff, I mean, really quite scary. So the Prime Minister and police are at odds over migrant suspects. Police don't want to reveal their ethnicity and nationality. The Home Office, this is on the front of the eye, is apparently going to detain small boat migrants and deport them back to France in the coming days. What that doesn't tell you is that we're also going to receive 50 more. The British state is failing to collect data on asylum seeker sex offences. There's a theme on the front pages, and apparently the rail network is crumbling because it's too hot. Stay tuned.
This is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year. We'll give you a cash lump sum that will cover 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, up to an incredible £20,000. Plus, we'll add £5,000 on top of that for you to treat yourself. You have to hurry though, as lines will close on the 29th of August. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want to know what's really going on